Hey everyone! Today, I am going to show you how I grow mushrooms in a bucket. This is what you will need to grow your own mushrooms at home. You will need 2 buckets, one with holes and one with no holes. More on that later. You also need substrate. This can be straw, wood chips, or something else. If you're not sure what to use, you can ask in a forum or in the comments down below. And the most important part, you need some sort of mushroom spawn. The most common choice is to use grain spawn. Now, the problem is that it is not the easiest thing to do at home. So for most people, the only way to get spawn is to buy from a supplier. But if you don't want to buy or make your own spawn, you can use the mushrooms themselves. That is what I am going to do here. I'm going to use mushroom stems as my spawn. So, the first thing you need is a bucket with some holes. You want to drill holes in the sides. Mine are about 8 millimeters wide. You also want some holes at the bottom. This is so the excess moisture can drain out of the bucket. Next, you will need another bucket or tote that has a lid. This is what we are going to use to pasteurize the substrate. For the substrate, I am using straw. I have a bunch of straw that fell from bales that used to be here, so I am going to use it. Keep in mind that if you are using straw, it is recommended to use chopped straw. This is because you will get a more even substrate, which is going to help with colonization. Mine is not perfect, but as these are pieces that fell from bales, they are already way smaller than if I was using straw from the bale itself. Now that my bucket has the straw, I will put boiling water in it. You don't need to fill it completely with water, as the hot steam is going to pasteurize the straw. Now we just need to put the lid back on the bucket. I like to add some whey on top of the lid. This is because if the water is really hot, the lid can pop out. You can also add a blanket around the bucket to keep it from cooling too fast. This is really useful in colder weather. Now we just leave it overnight, and the next day, we are going to do the inoculation process. So now that the substrate has cooled down, we are going to inoculate the bucket. First, you want to drain the water from your substrate. After you drain the water, it is time to prepare the mushroom stems. To do this, I will cut my stem pieces from my mushrooms. First, I clean my surface and my blade with 70% alcohol. You don't want to cut them too big. Remember, this is our spawn, and the more inoculation points we can add, the faster the colonization. Faster colonization means less chance for contamination. I am using blue oyster stems that I had in the fridge for over a month. As you can see, they have started to grow mycelium around them, and that is going to help with faster colonization too, as there is already mycelium ready to go on the stems. After you cut all the stems into pieces, it is time to inoculate. We are going to work with layers. First, we are going to put straw in the bottom of the bucket, and then we add mushroom stems on top, and we keep going like this, making sure that when you reach the top of the bucket, the last layer is straw. Just keep layering until you don't have more straw or mushroom stems. You may want to squeeze the straw that is closer to the bottom of the bucket, as it is more moist than the one at the top. You will always have excess moisture, but if you remove some, it will help the bucket drain faster. Now we just need to close the lid and get our bucket into incubation. Now you need to pay attention to where you put your bucket into incubation. If you remember, we have a couple of holes at the bottom of our bucket so the excess moisture can get out. Pay attention to that because you don't want your floor to get covered in this. So, put something underneath your bucket. The other thing you want to pay attention to is temperatures. You want the temperature between 20 and 25 degrees Celsius. It's okay if it's a little less. You don't want to go really over 25 degrees Celsius. The other problem you may have is all of these exposed holes around your bucket. If you have a lot of insects in your house, like fruit flies, you may want to cover these holes. There are multiple ways you can do this. You can cover your holes with micropore tape, or you can try to put your bucket inside a garbage bag and just make a couple of holes. You might put some micropore tape over those or just make some really small holes with a needle because mycelium needs to breathe. The other thing you have to do is, if you put your bucket in a tray like I do, you definitely want to clean this liquid out and clean the bottom of your bucket. Now, don't forget that mycelium still needs to breathe, so you need to give it some oxygen. You can try to do something from the top of the bag, or you can just make some really small holes with a needle to make sure that those insects do not get inside the bucket. Alternatively, you can make some bigger holes and just tape them with micropore tape or something similar. Let's check how the mycelium is doing. I'm going to remove the bag. You generally don't want to open your bucket first to check if it is fully colonized or not. What you want to look for is if you can see mycelium around the holes. As you can see here, just check all the holes around the bucket. If you can see mycelium on them, that's what I saw through the bag, as the bag is not fully opaque. I could see that there was some mycelium growing around the holes, and that's one of the reasons why I decided to open the bucket. After you check that the holes around the bucket have mycelium on them, you will crack the lid open and take a look inside to see if everything looks okay. If everything is fully colonized and there is no mold or bad smells, it is time to fruit. Now we need to provide the right conditions for our mushrooms to grow. The best way to grow oyster mushrooms would be outdoors, but it's summertime, and it's too warm and dry. So what I will do is grow them indoors. You just need to place the bucket in a cool place with no direct sunlight. You still want some light, but mushrooms don't really need light to grow. You also need to pay attention to airflow. Mushrooms, like us, need oxygen. So you don't want to put them in a very closed space, but you also don't want to put the fan on top of them, as that will dry them out. The most important part, you need to mist them. No, mushrooms don't need water. They have all the water they need in the substrate. The reason we mist is to keep the air around the bucket humid, so our mushrooms won't dry out. The amount of times you will need to mist will depend on your specific case. If your bucket dries really fast, you may have to mist more times a day. If it stays wet for a long time, you will need to decrease the amount of times you mist. I personally mist twice a day, and now that you know how to take care of your bucket, you just need to wait for the mushrooms to grow. So, these mushrooms are now ready to harvest. I would actually pick them a little bit earlier, before the caps start to flatten like they are here, but you want to pick them before they start to curl up. I like to pick them earlier, as they last longer in the fridge, and I think they taste better. So, I would recommend picking them before they start to flatten. To harvest them, I am going to take a knife and cut the clusters. You can also just twist them, as the holes in the bucket are very small, so they should come out easily. After you harvest for a second flush, you just need to keep misting the bucket until you get more mushrooms. Alternatively, you can also empty the straw from the bucket and lay it out in a garden bed to get some more mushrooms. And that's it. It's a very simple method of cultivation that is easy to do at home, and you will be able to grow your own fresh mushrooms with just a bucket, straw, and mushroom stems. I hope you like it and give this a try. Hope you like this video. Share this video with all friends, and don't forget to subscribe to Discover Agriculture YouTube channel. Thanks for watching, and keep those mushrooms growing.